Hi, welcome to Noteworthy by Michele. Today I have a faith-based kit. This is the Bible tabs that I made for my Bible, and I'm calling the kit September Florals Bible Tabs. I initially made these for my own personal use, and I wanted them to coordinate with my September Florals envelope journal. They go very nicely with that, and I just love them so much. I actually had Bible tabs already on my Bible, and then I chose to remove those, and I'll be putting these on. Let's take a look at the kit and see what is included. There are two separate sizes of this kit. This kit has the Old Testament, the New Testament, and also some of the frequently used indexes that you find in Bibles, such as maps, alpha index, numerical index, character studies, prophecies, harmonies, outline, life of Christ, concordance, topical treasury, measurements and weights, excuses. Those are the ones I believe I included here. These two pages are the entire Old and New Testament along with the indexes. And I combined these two pages and I made a smaller set because, you know, we don't all have large Bibles, and I wanted to be able to make one of smaller. And so this is the smaller set. It also comes with a nameplate for the beginning of your Bible. You can put inside the cover. It says this Bible belongs to, and then there's a couple lines for your name, address, phone number, whatever you'd like to put there. I printed these on cardstock, and I have an inkjet printer. Now, as you know, inkjet printers are not waterproof. So how am I going to protect my Bible? I take my Bible with me a lot of different places. I take it to church. I take it to the coffee shop to have coffee in the evening. You know, I take it to a Bible study, different places. With the inkjet printer, you run the risk of damaging the paper when it becomes wet. But I have used a way that does not damage them. And I've had them on my Bible for a little bit of time. I made these like over, I don't know, 6 months, maybe a year ago. I'm not really sure. And they've been on my Bible and they're doing very well. How do we do that? First of all, we're going to take and we're going to cut these apart. And what I'm going to do, let's just start with this one here. The way this is set up, you have your rows and you have your columns. I would advise cutting it this way. So I'm going to cut in between each one of these. And I'm trying to get it kind of in the middle of where it is. I want enough room on both sides of it. This one is probably the hardest. That'll be just fine. Each of the pages, the two pages, I cut like this. And you'll need 2 copies because you have the front of the tab and the back of the tab. After I have this, I put together, I grab a sheet of paper. This can be just any old piece of paper. You're not really going to be using it again. So maybe you have printed something and it didn't come out just right. This is a perfect page to do this on. We're going to take the first one and we're going to lay it down here. I'm going to get it pretty close to the bottom. And then I have this Scotch long-lasting packaging tape. And I'm going to tear off a piece. Sorry for the noise. I'm going to tear off a piece that goes here. And I'm going to put this over it. Just like that. Let me get my bone folder, and I want to burnish that down really well, and then I go on to the next one. And for the next one, I want to leave a little bit of room, and the reason I'm leaving the room is I do not want this tape to go over this a second time, so I will leave an area in between the two. And I will just keep doing that, leaving spaces. Now, here on the side, you'll notice that this tab comes very close to the edge of this paper. So I want to make sure that this tab is completely covered in tape on this end as well. The next thing I do is carefully remove the tape off of my table. And I'm just going to cut the edges of the tape that have come over the edge of the paper. I don't want them getting stuck as I'm preparing these for my Bible. When I first made these, I began cutting these out by hand, and that is doable. You can certainly do that. I'm not that great at cutting the edges of them. This is the WeR Memory Keepers Tab Punch, and strangely enough, it actually fits this tab, and I'm going to be using that. But first, I'm going to take and cut these again in rows. I always punch from the back. I always like to see where it's going and make sure that I'm as close to possible. At first, I line up the bottom edge, but once I have that lined up, I'm checking the top edge to get the top edge as close to possible. If there's a difference, I go for the top edge because that's the edge that's going to be sticking off the page, and it needs to be, I kind of squeeze part way, make sure I'm within the view, and go ahead and punch. Whoops, I just let go of it. And here is my tab. Now, this is trash. That was the paper that we stuck it to. And I just go through and I cut each one of these apart. Sometimes I noticed that when I did this, I would occasionally have a little lip along the edge that was white, and if that was the case, I would just take my scissors and trim that off. If it was on the top edge, I would wait until it was on the Bible connected with the other tab on the back, and that way they were both the same. But I haven't had too much trouble with that. And that's how I make them waterproof, and it's worked really well for me. This is the 3-in-1 glue, and I've just put it in this bottle because it's a lot easier to squeeze. And when I glue them, the first thing I do is I take the front or the back or whichever one, and I'm only going to glue this bottom part that attaches to the page. And that's all I'm going to glue on the first one that I put down. On the back, let's pretend these were the same. They're not, but we can pretend that they are. On the back of it, when I put the back one on, the front one gets only half of it. The back gets the entire piece glued. Now with the placard, I want you to see that I have left a little bit of a lip of white around the edge. And I actually did this in paper instead of cardstock for that one. And what I will be doing is I will be using this Distress Oxide Victorian Velvet, and I'm just going to dust the edges around that. So I just literally dust the edge. It takes away the white and it goes well with this particular printable. Now sometimes the edges are hard to get, and when that happens, let me just slide these over. I use this makeup brush and I'll just go along the edges. And it takes away the white edge of the paper, which I like. I like a little bit of contrast that it provides, but I don't want a stark white, and so that's what I'll do. So this is gonna go here, and I'll just put my name and I will just glue that in place. Now, as far as the tabs, I know that 5 tabs are easily going to fit on here. So Genesis, I am gonna be putting it not necessarily where the book starts, but where the introduction is. And typically, let me explain, when I use a Bible tab, my Bible tab is going to go here, but when I use it, I will go like this and open it. And so if I put it here, when I opened it, it would come to here, and I want it to come to here. So I'm actually going to put it on the page before. That's just my preference. And now I kind of want to see how many will fit in this Bible going down the side. Genesis and Deuteronomy. Leviticus would maybe be the middle one, and Exodus and Numbers. So I can see that it's going to accommodate my 5 tabs very easily. I'm going to put the top one on, and I'm going to make it pretty close to the top. I am using 3-in-1 glue. I'm going to take my page and open it up. Let me just, there we go. And I am going to put a card, a gift card there, just so no glue goes past where I want it to go. I'm going to be gluing this part here. And I'm going to turn this so I can see a little bit better. And I am just going to put it here at the edge of the page. And there is that one. And I am going to go ahead and press that down. I have my bone folder here, and I just press it. And I wipe away any excess that has come off. And then I turn my Bible. I'm actually looking for something to put under here. Let me see. I have this. I can use this. And this is going to go here. I am going to put this underneath so no glue comes through. And I'm going to take the next Genesis tag, the second one, and it is going to go here. Now, when I put this tag on, I am not going to go this way. I am going to go this way so that I'm meeting up the edge of this tab. Let me just turn this so that little sticker's not getting in my way. I'm going to meet up the edge of the tab first, and I'm going to look to make sure the sides are even. So let me go ahead and put glue on. Now on this one, this is the second one, the back one, and I'm going to glue the entire thing. I'm going to go along the edge. This really needs to be thinned. It's very thick, but it will work. Pick it up. Now remember, this time I am matching up the edge. And when I have that somewhat matched up, I'm going to lift it up, and I'm going to touch the top of it to even it out, and I'm going to touch at the sides to even it out. And that way I know that it is matched up. And then I'm going to press only after I've checked the positioning. I know the positioning is good. I'm holding it in place with one finger as I use my bone folder to burnish it down. And there we have my first tab in place. Now, since this glue is still fresh, I'm going to leave that little thing in place, and I'm going to put another one on top of it. And then I'm going to go to Deuteronomy because I want these to be even. Okay, for this one, okay, let me make sure now, back again. This is my first page of Deuteronomy, so it's going to go here. And for this one, this is the first one on, so I'm only going to be doing the wider edge of this. And there it is. And I'm going to bring it down to almost the very bottom of the page and put that in place. And I use kind of the edge of the where it gets wider to put it in place. And I remove any of this excess. So there's a lesson. You don't want too much glue on there. And this needs to be slid down a little. I can see that it's not even on the back. So now it's more even. And here's this, bring this up. And I'm gonna go ahead and burnish that in place. And then I'm gonna turn my Bible around. Bring this over here. This is definitely gonna need this to keep it in place because of the glob of glue. We don't want it sticking to the next page. So here I have this. And a lot of times I will like bend the page a little bit more to keep it. It's hard to do when it's on the edge. Let me turn this over. There we go. So this is Deuteronomy. I want to pick up the Deuteronomy one. And again, I'm going to do the entire thing. Holding it at the wide edge, I am going again to match up the edges as best I can. Lightly tap it so it stays in place. Lift it up, make sure the top is straight up at the top. Make sure the sides are even. Then keep one finger in place so it doesn't move, and use my bone folder again to burnish it in place. And there is my Deuteronomy. Now for the next one, I'm going to use the ruler. Leviticus is the third book, and so it's going to be right in the middle. And here we are in Leviticus. Need to go to the beginning of it. And this is the first page. So I'm going to the page before it because it's on this side. If it began on this side of the page, I would take that page, but it begins on this side, so I'm going to take the page before it. And again, these are sticking. This is a brand new Bible. Leviticus, yes, this is where we want it to be. Now this is where my ruler comes in handy. And I'm just going to measure what it is from end to end. And it is like 10 1/4. So I'm going to mark 5 1/8. 10 1/4, so 5. Here's the quarter, here is the quarter mark, here's the 1/8 mark. So this is my middle. So I just made that light little mark there. It's going to be covered up with my page, so I don't need that anymore. I'm going to come here. I'm going to grab another card, and I'm going to put it under that page. Right there. I'm only putting glue on the wide edge. And then I'm just going to measure with my eye as much as possible the center, lining up the center with the center of my tab, and put that in place. I'm going to go ahead and look and see if it's where I want it, and it is. It looks good. So there we have that. I'm going to bring this over and turn it around and put the back piece to this. Pick it up, tap the top, tap the sides, make sure they're even. Let's go ahead and burnish it. Now I go back and I touch. There's no glue there, and there's no glue there. So I can remove these two cards. And look at that. I had glue on my card and it stuck. Fortunately, I was able to get it away, and there's no glue residue there. So we have Genesis and Leviticus. So Exodus is going to be in the middle of that. Let's find the book of Exodus. Here we are. And since it begins on this page, we will put it on this page. So let me just grab that page. with a new Bible, you really have to be careful not to have more than one page. This is chapter 50. It's the last chapter of the book, and we know that that's right. So this is where I'm going to do this. I need to pull this back in order to see my placement. And my placement of this, I just put it in the middle as much as possible. And that's where I do that. And I'm going to mark my middle. I'm just going to kind of mark that so I know where I want that. Along the edge, I find about the center of it and the center of that, and I just put it down. Now what I do is I bring over whoops. No, that's correct. My whole page folded back. This, and I look, and that's pretty close to where I want it, so that's good. Bring this up and just press in place. Here you can see there's a little bit of white there, and so I need to adjust where that's hitting. And there you have that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this in place, and I'm going to put this in place. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to check Deuteronomy, and there's no glue, no wet glue there, and there's no wet glue there. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to use it for the book of Numbers. I want to be careful to hold those in place because I don't want the glue to get on my Bible. This one. This one. So here's Numbers. It starts on this side, so I'm going to go back to this page. I need to be able to see the middle one. So I'm going to bring that forward and set it here and move this up here so I can see. And this is where I measure between these two where I want it to go and go ahead and do my gluing. Except, did you notice what I did? I marked it in Exodus, and that's not where I want to mark it. So let me go ahead and erase that. You need to be careful about where you put your tabs. This is where I want to mark this. So we'll do this again. I'm just going to lay it there. I'm going to flip it to the page that I'm going to use. Let's just make sure. Yes, Numbers. And I'm going to mark it. And I mark it because I have to take this away and glue it, and I'll lose my spot. Now I can glue. So I know that I want that right there in the middle. Just going to burnish it in place. Grab the next one. And again, I line up the top, the part that hangs off the page. So let's just give this a minute, and then we'll check our placements and see. I have my next 4. So we have Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. The next will be Joshua, Judges, Ruth, and 1st and 2nd Samuel. First set I did in 5, and I went all the way to the bottom. When I open this up, I will open to the page that it is on. When I put Joshua in, I want mine to be staggered. I just lost Joshua. We'll just pretend like it's here. Let's see. Let's just get to the right page. There we go. Joshua. I'm going to stagger mine. I could do them all in line and line up each tab with the tab, and that would be easy and it would look lovely. I don't want to do that. I want to stagger it. So this next set will be Joshua, and then it will be Judges, and then it will be Ruth, and then it will be 1st Samuel. So I have 5 as my first stagger, then 4. So let's come over to here. Let's get rid of Deuteronomy, and you'll see now that I have 4 staggered. My next set will be a staggering of 5, and I'll follow the same pattern that I used here, and that's how I will continue working through my Bible. I hope that helps. I'll share a picture at the end of what it looks like when it's finished. I hope you enjoy my little Bible tabs as much as I do. You'll see they go perfectly with the journal that I'm using, and they also go perfectly with my sermon notes notebook that I made. And this is the sermon notes. It's another kit that's coming out soon. And I've been using this for about 6 months, and it has my sermon notes in it. And doesn't it look so pretty? It matches perfectly, and this matches my nameplate. So I just think these are lovely. I hope you like them as much as I do. Take care for now. Bye.